make a start, I think. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Hal Bernstein, and this is one of our, a presentation which is coming to the end of our MIPIM week. And I just want to say a few things really about St John's and the factory. I think what you normally find when you talk to people is that people actually understand a little bit about St John's, but very rarely understand so much about factory, and vice versa. Very rare that you get to talk to people about with the same level of knowledge about both of those concepts. And the reality is that there is an interdependency around these two projects, which is absolutely central, not only to what we want to deliver within the city for the benefit of the wider region, particularly where we have the opportunity here to create another cluster of national significance, in my view, around creative activity, but also the opportunity to drive further commercial floor space, the drive better and more destinations, which will underpin new hotel offers, and ultimately places where people from all backgrounds would want to live. And it's those interdependencies in that project which were largely the reason why central government got firmly behind that project 2 years ago, and why, with the support of my colleagues, we've been able to drive this forward to, I think, in record levels of time, to quite spectacular outcomes. There's no Mike Ingle here this year. He's got other duties to perform this week, but it's my great pleasure to introduce first Piers, who's going to talk on behalf of Allied, who will then introduce John, who is led, of course, on behalf of the festival in developing our factory ideas. I hope you enjoy the presentation. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Sir Howard, for that introduction. My name is Piers Reid. I'm the Director of Enterprise at St John's. I joined Allied London last year to head up our enterprise initiatives. I have to say, having watched so many presentations this week, I feel very fortunate to have joined the Manchester clan at this particular point in time. Today, we're excited to share how St John's is coming to life as we begin to deliver the project in 2017. We begin with Spinningfields, though, a development from before my time with Allied. I'm sure many of you have visited this at some point, and for us, it's essentially become corporate city. What we've done lately, though, is evolve our way of thinking. Our two most recent buildings, MediaCom and XYZ, have introduced digital to Spinningfields. Last year, we showed you how we joined Spinningfields up with our digital building XYZ. That is Spinningfields Digital. Spinningfields went digital the day we started XYZ, and it's just the foundation. Through that building and our others, they will speak to St John's. It's all about digital content, digital working, and bringing tech in a very deliberate way to Spinningfields. This was our concept of digital communications between Spinningfields and St John's. They will speak to one another, they will network, they will communicate in a digital language. So what does this mean for St John's? As you will see, it's just across the road from Spinningfields. It has been a carefully planned process to transfer our knowledge, our intelligence, and our experience from our work both in London and at Spinningfields to allow us to create a new neighbourhood that is St John's. It has driven our thinking and the overarching concepts of what we are delivering. To us, St John's is the logical progression. This is St John's. All the assets have been submitted for planning. It is now a reality. Mike discussed our concepts, ideas, and initial designs last year in his MIPIM presentation. Today, we are showing you how these will be delivered. It's a world built around three core pillars: enterprise, culture, and living, with enterprise sat at the heart of everything that we do. Now, please welcome my colleague James Sidlow, who will talk you through what it will be like to live at St John's.
Thank you, Piers. My name's James Sidlow. I'm the director on the living side at Allied London. And I feel I've been a bit stitched up today, given that I've got 4 minutes. I've got 4 minutes to talk about 4 very different residential projects, all really very exciting. Over 1,000 units, and I'm not allowed to mention Trinity Islands, which is another 1,400 units down the road. So bear with me, this is a very high-level overview. As Piers says, we're very excited at Allied this year because now we have full planning consent for that St John's scheme. And the 4 residential concepts that I'm going to talk about today, we've worked very hard on design over the last couple of years. So 2017 is now about delivery. So what is living going to be like at St John's? Well, it's going to be very unique. It's going to be one of Manchester's first neighbourhoods, a new community, a new lifestyle, choice, whether to buy, whether to rent, a place where people know your name, there's a seat at your favourite restaurant, a place to grab a coffee, sit by the riverside, yoga on the rooftop, a real array of amenities, retail, leisure, and at the heart of that, enterprise and also living. It's also a place to support the growth of friends, families, and in that we've developed a range of products. So whether it's living in the 52-storey luxurious tower, the craft-inspired South Village, or the nickel and dime PRS concept, it's very much tech-enabled, St John's will be enriched with colour and vibrancy, and it'll be one of the most aspirational places to live in the city. So let's start this high-level tour. Boom, nickel and dime. If only modular building was that easy. 2 clicks. So this is our PRS concept, nickel and dime. 2 residential towers, 36 stories each. A metallic facade, 1 cast in bronze, 1 cast in silver. 610 apartments, 305 in each. Smart contemporary fit out, 1 and 2 bedroom units. Beautiful commercial space on the ground floor that runs out onto the riverside and onto the factory public realm. But one of the unique selling points about this scheme, and one of the things that we've really tried to do, and we're working with an operator over in the US who comes from a hotel background, is about service. It's about providing a 5-star level service. So imagine laying in bed in the morning and being able to book the cleaner, being able to book your yoga class, being able to book the best restaurant in St John's. Whatever you want to do, you can do on our app. And that's that 5-star, that efficient level of service that we're going to offer at this scheme. The next scheme, Albert Lofts. 100 units, loft style, as you can imagine. 2 crafted buildings on the riverfront, duplex, draws upon the history and the heritage of the site, exposed brickwork, waterside restaurants and retail units. And the tower, one of the most iconic buildings that the city, or that St John's will offer. It'll be the gateway to St John's, a 52-storey tower, 15 floors let to an international hotelier, the rest residential apartments, 293 for sale, 1 and 2 bedrooms with quadruplexes on the top 4 floors. Quadruplexes are penthouses over 4 floors. If anyone's got a spare 10 million, come and find me afterwards. Classic architecture, linear, simple lines, inspired by New York, Chicago, the 50s, 60s buildings in those cities. Shared amenity across the whole site. The residents of St John's will access the amenities across the site. It will be a community, it will be a neighbourhood. And finally, this is the tower. Very high spec, views across the city. And finally, South Village. Now, probably in this role, I'm not allowed to have a favourite residential development, but if I was allowed, this would be it. This is built on the former Coronation Street site. Next to the bonded warehouse, an 18th century listed building. The Mosey Museum next door. The history, the heritage of Castlefield beyond. And what we've tried to do with this is capture that. And the specification that you just saw is exposed brickwork, it's polished concrete, some of the biggest units in the city. It's a house in an apartment. 61 units, so very exclusive development, and very much an owner-occupier for sale product. There's interest in this from families, from downsizers, people moving out of their homes in South Manchester, their 5-bedroom homes, to move into this, really creating that mixed community. So that's a roundup of the 4 different products across St. John's. I hope you'll agree that they're all different, they're all unique, and they will all bring the community together. So I'm now going to pass over to John McGrath, who's going to talk about the cultural aspects of St. John's.
Thank you, James. I think I get to fly the last bit into the picture, so there you go. That's the factory. We're going to build it in outer space and drop it in by helicopter. And Manchester, uniquely in Britain, if not the world, has trusted culture to sit at the heart of a vision for a city. And huge tribute today to Sir Howard, who's been absolutely central to that decision, which now makes us culturally the envy of the world for the commitment that's made to arts as something that can transform lives and attract visitors, attention, and residents to a city. Manchester International Festival has been at the heart of that through the last 10 years, creating a festival where the best artists in the world not only come, but come to do something entirely new. So it makes a lot of sense now that we should transform that biennial vision of Manchester International Festival into a year-round partnership with St. John's to create the factory. The factory will be where the artists at the absolute top of the game, we have artists like Bjork, we have artists like Arcade Fire, like Kenneth Branagh, come to Manchester not to show something, but to invent something new. These will be some of our inhabitants in this space, artists of that caliber. And in order to house them, we've been able to invite one of the great architecture practices, Rem Koolhaas's OMA, to create this design. You see in this moment a classic MIF work, Tree of Codes, on in Manchester 2 years ago. Whoops, can we go backwards and see it again? On in Manchester 2 years ago, finally on in London to huge and very exciting reviews just last week, created by Wayne McGregor, by the artist Oliver Eliasson, and by Jamie XX. To make that work, they were working in often 3 different countries. At the factory, we bring them together into the space to be able to work on location, surrounded by the St. John's development. There's space in that building for 5,000 people in the warehouse space to watch that work. There's a seated auditorium for up to 1,500 people. This is work of real ambition. It's going to invite visitors from across the world to St. John's, and for people who live there, they'll be able to be part of an international experiment of real clout. So we're truly excited to be making a step from MIF as a biennial festival to a year-round statement to the world about what culture can do in partnership with St. John's. And I'm going to hand back to Piers, and maybe you're going to fly yet more bits into the St. John's picture.
Thank you, John. So enterprise forms the commercial heartbeat of St. John's. It encompasses places to work, places to stay, places to eat, and places to shop. It's everything. It's the integral part of the St. John's neighbourhood. Enterprise is the anchor for culture of the neighbourhood. It will be an inspiration for the creation of art and performance, and will continue to build Manchester's role in the world of arts. Enterprise is not just a concept, it's a place. It's a place where people will want to come and work, and where people will want to come and live. My first building I'm dropping in is the old Granada Studios, a true Manchester landmark brimming with heritage and history. This building will house a world-renowned hotel, production and recording studios, which we're bringing back to life, event and performance spaces, bespoke co-working with contemporary city apartments above, curated bars, cafes, and restaurants. All studios straddles culture and enterprise. This is a commercial platform for the creative industries at the heart of Granada Studios. By 2019, we will have 20 studios in operation. We see ourselves as the disruptors of television, film, and the music industries. The next building, the Manchester Goods Yard, the commercial catalyst of St John's and a fulcrum of enterprise. With ultra-modern workspaces, bespoke studio suites, more flexible co-working space, stylish duplex apartments, leisure and event platforms as well, we have a great opportunity to build on the old Granada Studios, with more vibrant cafes, bars, and restaurants as well. The Bonded Warehouse, which is one of my favourites, a unique and historic architectural structure. We're calling it the Ideas Warehouse. It will have unique workspaces, artistic event zones, creative studio spaces, artisan shops and leisure. And finally, Globe and Simpson. This will be a state-of-the-art innovation building, purpose-built for city quarters, positioned exactly between Spinningfields and St John's. This will include, again, more innovative workspace with sophisticated designs and tech-advanced infrastructure. Enterprise, yet again, is the anchor. So, ladies and gentlemen, having got to this point and shown you each asset, it's now our absolute pleasure to give you a virtual tour of St John's. This animated fly-through shows you what it would be like to walk through the streets. I hope you enjoyed that. That fly-through can be viewed on our new website, stjohnsmanchester.com, that goes live immediately after this presentation. Please explore all the information from this, with all the information on the buildings on that website. Since we were last here, we've made great progress and are due to start on site by September this year. But I have to say, you probably wouldn't expect Allied to come to MIPIM and deliver a standard presentation. I'm excited to leave with you something which is much more than just an outline of what we're going to embark upon. We are delivering more than just a property development. We are delivering something that has infrastructure. It will be world-class, a neighbourhood that is global, but most importantly, and this is key, global. As I've said before, St John's could not work without the enterprise element. Enterprise is what holds it all together and creates a thriving neighbourhood. On the 26th of April in Manchester, we will launch Enterprise City. Everyone in this room and those watching online are invited to see something dramatic, global and world-class. A game changer for enterprise in Manchester. Join us on the 26th of April for the official launch festival of Enterprise City. Thank Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's all. Yeah. Exclusive invitation.